Dave, can I give you a correction to the minutes?
Go for it, Patty.
Under the list of names, if we're talking about the minutes we're going to accept for October 1st, I didn't include Ruth Lyons. I had her as absent. Her name should be included with members present with a parentheses by it saying join the meeting in progress in all
Okay.
present.
Okay.
Thank you.
It is on my little sheet of paper that I hope I remember to see when we come to that. So.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yep, I'm giving it a couple seconds here. I'm ready though, Pam. So, Pam, how are you doing yours? Are you going to be downstairs? Are you coming up? Well, you wouldn't come
I
up.
am. Andrew gave me a different log on tonight, so I'm going to talk to you from where my name is, but
Yep.
I'm going to broadcast from the other one.
I guess it didn't matter because I was thinking I was asking, are you going to come up to the podium? But that really doesn't matter.
No, but you all should have gotten an email from Rosie earlier today with paperwork. So I'll just go through that and explain what the fire and the police department and I have come up with, the Fair Association and the American Legion.
Yep.
Team effort.
Derek, do you see anyone sneaking in, coming in?
No, right now we got 14 panelists and 5 attendees, but Andrew's running this meeting.
Oh,
Read his
I'll give
title.
it what's that?
Read Andrew's title.
I'm looking for him. I can't even find him. Oh, Zoom Guru. We'll give it a couple seconds. We just ended interviews at 6:29, so we have time for the commute. Derek, watch for chat. It'll be via text, Derek.
Yeah, I don't have any chat capability here.
Can you resend this link? Because the one you sent was the executive session. Oh, gotcha.
Who does it need to go to?
Ruth.
10-4, hang on.
Andrew, John can't hear anything. Is that you or is that him?
It's not me. Make sure speaker's turned up.
Come in. Come in. Yeah, I got no sound. Got it turned up on there.
Where's the
Right, the little arrow on the left. And the little speaker. Which that's usually way loud.
shoot? Did you test it before you came in?
We have the same setup I use at home, so I mean, it's the same computer. I've never had this problem ever happen. Just a matter of setting the volume there and remembering to unmute.
All right. Do you have the link again? I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna log out and go back in.
Okay.
I'll leave it.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, Pam, whenever you're good to send us, please do so.
Going live in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Thompson Board of Selectmen meeting, October 15th, 2020. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Patty, would you call the roll, please?
David Douglas,
I am here.
Marie Brilliant. Marie Brilliant,
Here,
Ruth Lyons,
here,
Matt Nixon,
present.
Roland Tufts,
Here.
all present.
Thank you, Patty. Town managers report.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to report the town has received $94,620 from DHHS for reimbursable expenses approved to Keep Maine Healthy 2020 Municipal COVID-19 Awareness Grant. We expect to receive additional reimbursements for expenses incurred through October 31st. Also, I'd like to report the town clerk's office has been working diligently to prepare for the November 3rd general election. Some statistics: out of the 7,985 registered voters, over 47%, which is 3,774, have requested an absentee ballot. Of those requests, 2,047, or 25% of all registered voters, have returned their ballot. This work could not have been accomplished without the help of our volunteers. So on behalf of the town staff and Board of Selectmen, I thank you for your time and dedicated service to everybody that's been helping us out. And as a reminder, the last day to request an absentee ballot by phone, online, or mail is October 29th. In-person absentee voting will be continuing through October 30th in the Donald Russell Meeting Room at Town Hall. Those choosing to vote on election day should go to the new Mount Ararat High School gym, where polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions of the manager? Seeing nothing. We will move to boards, committees, reports, and updates. Tonight, we have an update on Halloween activities from Pamela Duke, Parks and Recreation Department. Go ahead, Pam.
Good evening, everybody. I finally have our audio visual figured out when I'm recording, so you can hear me. We are working with the American Legion Post 202 and the Topsom Fair Association this year, due to the fact that we are unable to really hold a parade as we have in the past. We have reached out and currently have 12 trunk sponsors that will be providing information to us. We also have received $250 in donations to help us supplement candy and prizes and crafts. There's a lady who is working with us from the American Legion who is going gangbusters on getting more donations as well. Earlier today, I believe all of you were provided with a letter which was sent out to area merchants and organizations asking for their support one way or another if they would. And we also have the map that we'll be using for the fair so that you can see how things are going to flow similar to town meeting. And we will be doing a sign up genius from our website. So that will allow us to track and control how many people at a time. We'll have groups of 50 coming in at a time and supervised flow. They'll come in as we did for town meeting, and then they will exit as we did from town meeting out the tunnel. And we're working with some volunteers to have a special exit arrangement ready as well. So we're happy to say that we feel we are providing the candy, the trunk sponsors are not. The only thing they're doing is providing a station to distribute it from, so we can control the exposure there as well if there is a concern. So we're feeling like we have pretty safe protocols in place. I've worked with both the fire and the police department. They've been great at giving us assistance and are even doing their own booths as well, or trunks as well. So we're going gangbusters forward and happy that we can do something for the kids. I do know that various communities are making decisions with regard to that. We just want to have a safe alternative for parents who feel that they can't trick or treat and give the kids an opportunity.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone have questions regarding the trick or trunk? Seeing nothing. Excellent. I think it's a good idea. Still have something going. Everyone's been used to that parade down through the mall. And I think I like that we're working with a couple different organizations to pull it off too.
It's been a great partnership.
All right. I see no hands. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate it. We are on to update from TDI ECD, John Shattuck, Topsom Economic and Community Development, Inc. Director.
And Chair, we're going to have John Shattuck sit on my computer because he's having technical difficulties.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that. I guess it's better than my usual biological or mental difficulties. But tonight, due to the length of the agenda, I'm going to limit my update mostly to the items that are going to be on a little bit later regarding the CDBG Economic Development Program grant for Wicked Joe. But one other note, good news from the Government Review Committee that last night nearly finalized their report pursuant to the Town Code Chapter 6, the Section 25 review and revision every 10 years. And they, if your schedule permits, they would very much like to come and present their report to you at your meeting on the 19th of November. Regarding Wicked Joe, what we're doing tonight, later in your agenda, are two items. One is the approval of a batch of Phase 2 documents. And I'd like to thank all the selectmen who have come in over the last week and pre-signed the covering letter that only becomes live if you actually vote to support these documents tonight. This is the last piece of paperwork that we have to do before DECD can meet the federal requirements for issuing a contract with us. And once that's done, that'll happen fairly quickly next week. This is being prepared by town staff in consultation with McKed, the grant administrator, and in some cases, local folks with more expertise, like John Hodge at the Housing Authority that helped with the Fair Housing Questionnaire and the like. These are basically boilerplate documents that are required as part of the federal government to say that we are compliant with federal standards on fair housing and ADA and equal employment opportunity and the like. So it's pretty straightforward boilerplate stuff. The second piece is the Phase 2 public hearing on accepting the grant award. We've already held a hearing prior to the application process last spring, and that was held, and then we had a warrant hearing, and then this was taken to the town meeting where it was passed by an overwhelming vote. The town meeting also on the vote on the grant application specifically authorized the acceptance of grant funds as is required by CDBG rules. But nonetheless, apparently a new procedure, HUD now requires this second hearing to provide the public another opportunity to comment on the project that has already been approved by the town. The public hearing's been duly noticed by a legal notice in the Times Record last Friday. And that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
If there are any questions about the next two items, just wait for that if you don't mind, folks. Any questions of John for anything else? Seeing nothing. Excellent. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Now we are moving on to an update on the planning board designated seat on TDI. Assistant Town Manager Mark Waltz will handle that.
Good evening, everyone. So as you'll recall, last month, we had some concerns raised that there might be what's called a structural incompatibility or a conflict of interest because of the fact that TDI is an advocate for a business and the planning board is a neutral reviewer of business plans for development. At the time, you approved a leave of absence for the planning board member who has a designated seat on TDI, because that's what TDI's bylaws say, is that's the planning board member on it. And then we asked the town attorney to give us her opinion on whether she thought this was something that should continue or not. She looked at it and she said that she does not call it what would be a structural incompatibility to have a planning board member of TDI. She said those are very limited situations to where you could never have the two positions. And an example she gave might be a planning board member also sitting on the zoning board of appeals. She did caution, though, that she said, while there's not a structural incompatibility, in order to avoid conflict of interest issues, if a project's expected to come before the planning board member should recuse himself from the TDI proceedings, or alternatively, if the planning board member didn't recuse himself or herself from the TDI proceedings, they'd have to recuse themselves from the planning board proceedings. So in sum, the bylaws as they're written, could be allowed to stay as they are. On the other hand, staff has discussed this with the town manager, the economic development director, the planning board, the planning director and myself. We still think that there may be an issue that it's worth having TDI determine if they think it's worth having that planning board member seat on their board. Because even if it's appropriate, repeated recusals can undermine the overlapping board members' ability to fully participate in both boards and honor their fiduciary duties. In addition, it could be, or kind of what raised this whole thing was a public perception that there may be a conflict between these roles. So We also want to avoid a situation where we have a planning board member that has to recuse themselves just because it's important to get all of their input as much as possible. So our recommendation to you would be that you request the the TDI's board of directors to consider whether the drawbacks of having a designated planning member on their board outweigh the benefits of it, and then report back to us, and we'll report it back to you.
So Mark, that's something we'd make an agenda item for the next meeting, I take it. We need to discuss that as a group. And because it's not an agenda item, I'm hesitant to even ask. I'll hold. We might as well make it an agenda item. That way we don't open worms and such. Yeah, so I certainly support moving that in. Moving that forward to ask TDI, and we'd put that to the November 2nd would be my take, put it on the November 5 agenda.
We will do that.
And anyone else chime in on thoughts? Because I think for us to take action, it has to be an agenda item, and we want to discuss it. Seeing nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it, Mark, for all the work you guys did for it. There's some check marks here. All right. We're into the correspondence portion of our online meeting. So if anyone had correspondence sent in, this would be a time for the board to read them. Also, the public wants to, normally at a normal meeting, we would have the public, if they wanted to comment on any particular subject. We're doing that now via phone, 373-5090. And if anyone else had comments or questions, we'll keep trying to watch the Zoom hand. And our Zoom guru will make sure I see it. If not, what did I do? So 373-5090 is the phone number in. Does anyone have any correspondence?
Dave, I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have correspondence?
Mary Meeting Trail
Right.
group initiating work. Nope.
And that's starting up tomorrow, Matt, is that what you
Correct.
said? Yep. Yep, Merry Meeting Trail kicking back off, putting the band back together, I guess.
Picking the pieces back up.
What's that?
Picking the pieces back up.
Yeah. Seeing nothing. I'm going to take a second here, just me personally. Topsom does things differently. After an election, you run and you go to work the very next day. A lot of towns, you have a month or two before a swearing in ceremony. And as we're approaching an election and you never know what's going to happen, I just want to take a second and over my time, because I don't know what's going to happen on November 3rd. I just want to thank staff for being able to pivot quite often over the years with the Board of Selectmen. If we weren't happy with something or we wanted to see something different, that you were able to come back with different ideas and as well eventually advocate for yourself, because I do know that was something a while back that staff didn't feel that it was welcomed, and I think it is now. To the town manager, I want to thank you. I'm sure the first 10 months of your job feels like 10 years, but you certainly set the town of Topsom up for an outstanding reaction, in my opinion, to the pandemic. And your guidance and leadership on that certainly made our job much easier in the decisions we had to make. So I want to thank the town manager for that. And lastly, to the 4 board members here tonight and previous board members that I've sat with, Jim Truziani, Ron Rando, Andrew Mason, Don Russell, and Bill Thompson. Something I am incredibly proud of with all of those boards and what continues to be the way in Topsom is not like you see at a state and federal level. It is not this bickering and it's not this infighting. It's a group of 5 individuals at any one time that, although there are differing opinions, that actually work well together and they represent the town of Topsom very well. And we've always done that. And I think we should always be super proud that we were able to do that. And I would continue, I hope and expect that that is the same thing moving forward, regardless of how anything happen. So I just wanted to say those things because it strikes midnight and you're booted and the next person gets to work right off the bat. So I just wanted that opportunity to say so. I appreciate it. Ruth?
I would like to do the same. I'd like to echo a lot of what you said. I do want to thank the staff, and I particularly want to thank Derek, and also welcome aboard Mark. I think that these are good assets for our community. I have enjoyed every board member working with them, and I think we did have cohesiveness and we would work together, and we did a good job with that. And I want to thank the residents for their support and their input to every meeting that they felt they had to have input to. And we don't know what's going to happen, but I had to say those things. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you, Ruth. Again, the phone number 373-5090.
What happened? What there?
So as we keep watching the telephones and such, and the hands at the bottom, no hands, let's check off some of these. So if anyone wants to call in, adjustments to the agenda. We do have one this evening, 20-79, which is consideration any appropriate action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 405-6A to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a motion to add that to tonight's meeting?
So moved.
So moved, seconded. Second. We got moved, so moved and seconded, Patty. All those in favor of adding, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Thank you. Consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the regular selectmen meeting on October 1. What was in our packet? Patty, in her never-ending dying request to be perfect, noticed something tonight. The only thing different, she had Ruth marked as absent. Ruth should be put as present, but joined in progress for that last meeting. So once we add that in, Patty will be perfect once again and her streak continues.
Can I say something? I was
Go ahead.
half absent.
Yeah, that's what we did, joined in progress. So I'll make the motion to accept these meeting notes with the update of the one joined in progress.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting? Oh yeah, I got it. Excellent, unanimous. All right, 373-5090, seeing nothing, seeing no hands, we are going to jump to our regularly scheduled program. And up first is a public hearing 20-72. Consideration any appropriate action on the public hearing to discuss acceptance of an economic development program CDBG grant as approved at the 2020 town meeting on July 29, 2020. Once again, like all town public hearings, once we gavel open, anyone that has comments or questions may ask. Once the gavel has closed the public hearing, it will only be the members of the board that will be allowed to talk, discuss, ask questions, and then we will move on from there. So I will open the public hearing for 20-72. I don't know, are we going to hear from you, John, on this again?
You can if you wish. I tried to cover the ground, so you wouldn't need to give me an opportunity to bloviate. But
Well, I would rather have it done during the agenda item than not.
there you go. So to review, this first one you're looking at here, the public hearing, is a requirement of the CDBG process. It does seem a little counterintuitive because we have already held a public hearing last spring authorizing, as required, a separate public hearing by HUD authorizing this item to go on to the to be scheduled for the town agenda. That was done, town meeting warrant. It was also approved by the select board hearing on the warrant. It went to the town meeting on July 28th, was overwhelmingly approved. That approval included the the authorization as required by HUD for the town to accept the grant when awarded. And because of the timing this year, because of the COVID-19 issues, we actually held the town meeting approving the grant after it was awarded. So we'd already been awarded the funds. So this has been fully accepted by the town, but this is a technicality required by HUD as part of the CDBG process. Affords the public another opportunity to chime in on a grant that's already been received if they wish or accepted.
Is there any questions regarding this?
Any questions?
Oh, go ahead, Roland.
I said I have no questions.
All right, so I'm not seeing anyone chime in. I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing closed. John, so basically what we're just looking to make a motion. I just want to make sure we say this right so we can move forward. We're just accepting we're accepting of the Economic Development Program CDBG grant. Is that all we're looking to state here in our motion? Or are we looking to accept the guidelines as it's under?
I would do that, Mr. Chairman. Nothing in the paperwork I see actually requires us to do anything but to hold this hearing for the purpose of according the public another opportunity to comment. However, given that the hearing is on the acceptance of the grant, you could give a motion to say something that we ratify, confirm, or have consensus, however you want to put it, with the town's already recorded decision at the town meeting to accept this grant. Can't hurt.
Right. Does anyone have any comments, questions before we try to design something here? No. All right.
Hey, real quick, I just want to say thank you to Rod and John for, again, guiding folks through this process, which is clearly complicated. So thank you again. Job well done.
So let's see, I'll try to frame a motion here. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen ratify the Economic Development Program CDBG grant that it was approved at July 29, 2020 town meeting. We received no further public comments regarding this within this public hearing. And we're ready to ratify fully. I don't design it, Patty. It's all you.
Second.
All right. Good job. There, Patty, you want to take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. So in favor,
I am in favor.
Mr. Douglas is in favor. Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Okay, Matt Nixon.
Favor.
Ruth Lyons. For or against, Ruth?
He's in favor. I read the lips.
For.
Roland
In
Cass.
favor.
Thank
In
you.
favor.
Okay, that's unanimously in favor.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, John, this federal stuff is really good. Okay. So new business 20-73, consideration any appropriate action on the selectmen's approval and the adoption of the below project development phase documents in connection with the Economic Development Program CDBG grant to the town on behalf of Wicked Joe LLC. Go ahead.
Okay, once again, this is basically a formality. It's paperwork. This is required by the process. These documents are basically boilerplate reciting that the town is aware of and obeys and follows federal guidelines in areas like required federal standing for fair housing, equal opportunity housing, ADA, and equal employment opportunity in the way we maintain our facilities, post our jobs, and the like. This is being prepared by town staff in consultation with the grant administrators, the certified grant administrators at MCAD, Mid-Coast Economic Development District, and as necessary with consultation with specific staff areas about their facilities and local folks with more expertise in some of these areas, like John Hodge at the Housing Authority regarding our fair housing policies and the like. And so these are being reviewed already. The answers we provided by the folks at DECD and Ed McGad, and everybody has pronounced themselves satisfied with what we produced. I want to thank the select board for having come in the intervening week since the packet was put together and executing a cover page that serves to stand in for your signature on each of these 5 certifications and adoptions. DECD was very helpful in saying, no, we didn't have to sign these things 5 times, but that does not become effective until you vote tonight. And finally, I want to pass on 2 things. My thanks to Wicked Joe for choosing Topsom 6 years ago now, 7 years ago, actually, and proving to be one of the really great business corporate citizens for Topsom, really exemplary, contributory employer, a lot of focus on attracting and retaining employees who haven't had as much opportunity as they might like, which is kind of the point of the CDBG program. And I'd like to pass on Bob Garber's thanks. He's attending tonight, but's having, as I did, apparently technical connection issues with sound. So he just texted me and asked me to thank the town for their support both 6 years ago and again at the town meeting this year.
Excellent. Any questions of John? I'll try to formulate. Nothing. All right. So I will make a motion that we approve and adopt project development phase documents in connection with the Economic Development Program CDBG grant to the town on behalf of Wicked Joe LLC.
Second.
Motion and seconded. You can just copy the words right off where I copied them, Patty. Patty, would you, when you're ready, take the vote, please?
Yep, I'm ready. David Douglas.
In favor.
In favor. Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Ruth Lyons.
In favor.
Matt Nixon.
In favor.
Roland Tufts.
In favor.
That is unanimously in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate it. All right, item number 20-74, consideration any appropriate action on addressing issues, complaints, Topsom firing range. I'll start off here before we jump in. Everyone has a letter, and it was in our packet from resident Brett Strout, who lives out in the area of the firing range. Brett and I spoke during the initial lockdown, work from home, probably May or June this past year, and we were going to bring it forward. The hope at the time was this could be something we could in person talk about. So it was put off, and I reached back out to Brett recently. And so we've got the letter here talking about the firing range at the landfill that is used by not only the Topsom Police Department, but additionally the Brunswick Police Department. So Brett, is there anything you wanted to, that I didn't draw full attention? I know I was going to let you have a second to just, if there was anything I missed.
No, if you've got the letter and I don't need to read it, that's fine. But I would like to add, Mr. Chair, that Chief Hagan and Chief Stewart did sit down with me in a meeting along with the firearms, the lead firearms instructors, and we had what I thought was a fruitful discussion. And they've agreed to make some changes, which I am supportive of. However, I would like the board still to consider asking Brunswick to find their own range.
Okay. Chief, can you go over some of the changes that have been proposed or are going to be proposed, or what you guys have agreed to?
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you. The first thing we're going to do is Brunswick and Topsom both are planned on shooting for our annual qualifications this year. So rather than having 1 week at the end of October for just Brunswick and then another week, probably early November for Topsom, we're all combining and we're training together. So there's going to be 4 days at the end of October when we're all going to just shoot together. So it'll cut down. It'll just be 4 days with an additional amount of shooting, but versus 14 days or 10 days if you just include weekdays. And also the Brunswick SWAT team has agreed to be a little more efficient with making sure that everybody's aware of when they're going to shoot, and they're going to let Mr. Strout know.
Additionally, so I received conversation, Brett and I had conversation earlier, and within days after that, there was another individual out that way, just so everybody knows. And this was during work from home. And when this initial incident was going on with the all-day shooting, it was something I was hearing at my house. So I fully understand the frustration. So, Chief, let me ask you, is there any ability to schedule these trainings that we will hold these on certain days a month, and that allows residents the opportunity to always know, all right, it's going to be happening at this point and so forth?
For the most part, yes. And why I say for the most part is we're always going to have a situation where if we're having an issue with a weapon and we need to fire a few rounds through it, we might have to go out there at some point because of that. Or earlier in the year, we had an issue when COVID-19 hit. There were 2 officers, a Brunswick officer and a Topsom officer, that had been in the academy that we needed to get qualified, and we couldn't do it at the academy because everything had shut down. So we went out there and did some firing also. But we can start trying to figure out a better day, a set day of the month, let's say, and try to work around that. Now, sometimes there will be issues because of vacations or sickness or something along those lines. But I should also tell you, in all fairness, and I did mention this to Brett Strout, over the last 2 years, the Topsom Police Department, the officers have only fired their weapons in training 1 time a year. We used it for 1 week in 2019 for 4 days and another week in 2020 for 4 days. And, I'll tell you, shooting's a perishable skill for people that aren't aware about this. And shooting 1 time a year is just inadequate for an officer to be fully trained on their skills. The public has expectations of us as police officers, and that if we show up at a call, we're going to shoot in a safe, appropriate, an accurate manner. And I'll be honest with you, and I told Brett Strout this as well, shooting once a year hasn't been enough, and it's not enough for the officers here. And I do plan on us shooting a second or possibly even a third time. No, it won't be 3 weeks out of the year. I'm not talking about that, but just an opportunity to get the officers over there maybe for an hour during the week and, shoot a box of ammunition or something along those lines. But again, just so everybody is aware of what my plans are here now that I've only been here 3 weeks, but our plan is to shoot more from the Topsom side.
What has Brunswick's triple the size of us, their force?
Yes, sir, roughly. Yep.
So obviously, I agree 100% with you that our officers need their opportunity to shoot. And we're not going to have every single day set exact, and we have that need. But I'll say up front, I support Mr. Strout's quest to ask Brunswick that they start stepping to the plate and finding a location. So we're talking a department that's triple our size. And I know it's a balancing act. And believe me, I know when I say this, we have joint team that they work together, and we need them to train together. And don't want this looking out in the cold, but we do have to be somewhat mindful here. And I appreciate that everyone's trying to work together. But knowing the large swaths of land out at the former base that are available, we need to ask the question at what point will Brunswick be, and what's been their reception to looking for a location?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not sure about any of that though.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Does anyone? questions, chime?
I
I agree with your comments, Dave. Sorry, go ahead. I'm done. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree with what you just said, Dave. I was struck by the responsible request and obviously the cooperation that's currently being exhibited by all parties. But my concern also came down to, well, I guess you had sort of touched on needing the need to have joint activities sometimes between the two different towns. I wouldn't want to basically hamstring us and say that, you know, no other police force could use our shooting range again, because there is a need, I think, for that type of joint training. But at the same time, I am of the same mind as you, Dave. I think it would be worthwhile at least asking Brunswick to see about coming up with their own solution. Not throwing them off right now, but just saying, look, it might be time. You guys have a big force. You have a lot of land, open land, and it would solve some of our residents' issues.
And especially if our department's going to be doing more training, which they should be, once a year is very concerning. We will be adding to that concern. One of the chief, sorry, Ruth, and I'll get to you. It just clicked to my head. Nighttime. So I told you there was another resident up in the area that had reached out but didn't want to be publicly part of anything. One of their concerns was nighttime shooting, and I know there's probably going to be qualifications at night. The big concern was putting a child down to sleep, you know, that 8 o'clock sort of thing. The nighttime qualifications, is that something, if you're doing October, November, sun goes down a little bit earlier, is that something we can do a little more conscientious, or does it have to be a certain, you know, you got to be 2 a.m. and tired and trained? And it's not 2 a.m., but I just want to prevent the 8, 9 o'clock. But.
No, I hear you. And, you know, the initial range request was that nobody shoot later than 9 o'clock. So, you know, we have to wait till after dark, but our plan is moving forward to do any nighttime shooting or any shooting in the dark in the fall. So that won't be an issue. You know, it'll be, unfortunately or fortunately, it's getting dark early. So we'll be getting that done early.
Ruth?
The only thing I would like to say, I would certainly encourage Brunswick to be looking for their own place to shoot. And like you say, they have a vast amount of land out there on the landing. But at the same time, we have to be reciprocal and cooperate with other communities, because they do things for us and we do things for them. But if that could be encouraged nicely, that would be a good thing.
So, Chief, do you have anything left you want to say? Brett, you have anything, someone?
The only thing I would like to do is probably correct the number. Brunswick's probably just a little over twice our size. So just so things don't get exaggerated as far as that goes.
Good point, Mark.
Brett?
Yeah, I would like to say that I appreciate the chief, both in Brunswick and Topsom, working to help resolve this issue, or at least lighten it up. I want to point out, though, that when the agencies shoot out here, that each of their officers are shooting at least a box of ammo, if not more. And when you multiply that times a number of guys, it's pretty significant. You know, I've got neighbors that shoot out at, they have their own ranges, and, you know, it's not uncommon for them to shoot, but typically after a box of ammo, they stop because of the expense involved. So I know that we've been working with Brunswick for a lot of years, because I used to work over at Brunswick, and I know, and Brunswick was going to work towards making their own range. My plead to the board is that they've become comfortable. It's a close range. It's a wonderful range. And it's easy access. And so what my view is that they haven't had to try to find their own location. I'm just asking, please, on behalf of myself and my neighbors, to not just encourage them, but to give them some impetus, if you will, to you know, get on it and work on their own location. I think they're more than able or capable of making that happen. And I think that both agencies will still work together because they're great agencies. And this little issue can be resolved and still have the neighbors out in this area be satisfied as well. And thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So that was, that was a request. Is this something it sounds like everyone is on the same line of it's time to engage Brunswick in a serious finding. Is there an interest in a timeline? July 1 next year. I don't know what the number is. I don't know how long it takes. It's really berms. I'd look for some feedback there.
I think at a minimum, we should be asking them to provide us with a plan to migrate by a set date. So we know that they're actively pursuing it, knowing that there could be logistical issues that would make it difficult right now to have a firm date in terms of an actual move to a new facility.
So what are we thinking? Are we talking by July 1, 2021, April 1st?
July would be good.
What's that?
Roland, go ahead.
Well, my opinion is that plan should take no more than 6 months. I mean, you should have at least some idea of how it's going to work. It may not be perfect, but at least directionally, you know when the final move date will be.
Matt?
My point was just not to make them physically move in the spring or the winter. So if by Roland's qualification about having a plan ready in 6 months, that works for me. I'm just thinking erecting berms and frozen dirt. It's not super helpful. But yeah, I think having a plan in 6 months is completely a doable thing.
Anyone else? Chief, not that it's going to change anything on the opinions here. What do you think the reaction is going to be? To put you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think the reaction will be, it will take longer, to be honest with you. Because if they pick a location, they're going to probably have to do studies to make sure, what the backdrop is, try to find, a good piece of property. My guess would be they're going to have some neighbors, no matter where they pick in Brunswick. They're going to have some issues with the sound. They're probably going to have to do some noise testing. So my guess is their initial request will be to have more time than 6 months to be able to lock anything down. They're going to have to start looking for property if that's the way the select board is going. So my guess is they'll be asking for at least a year. I mean,
No, I think we're asking.
I think they'll love it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking we're asking for a plan for them.
Right.
And then hopefully they have a good plan within that 6 months. Yeah, they probably won't love it. They'll have to face their own residents. And that's, I certainly want us to continue to work together, and I expect that the two teams, it's one team, joint members, I guess, right?
No, there's nobody from, it's a pure Brunswick team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyone else got anything before we make a motion? Nothing? All right, so I will make the motion that we instruct the town manager to reach out to the town of Brunswick to formulate a plan for the Brunswick Police Department to seek their own shooting range in their own town. Well, they can do it wherever they want, and have a plan on how they would accomplish that to us within 6 months. So let's say May 1st, 2021. It's probably 7 months, but it avoids the mud season. So this is just a plan too. Chief has said they'll have some work to do, and I understand that. But continue to work together and get a ball rolling here.
Second.
All right, Patty, you want to take that role, please?
Did Roland second that?
Yes,
I did, yes.
Thank you. Okay, in favor or opposed, David Douglas?
In favor.
Marie Brilliant. Marie, are you
In favor?
Thank you. Ruth
In
Lyon,
favor?
Ruth,
In favor?
Matt Nixon,
In favor?
and Roland Katz.
In favor.
Unanimously agreed, Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, two chiefs. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
We are on to item 20-75, consideration any appropriate action to award the bid of tax acquired properties located at 55 Monroe Lane and 88 Monroe Lane. All right, that answers my question. Assistant Town Manager Mark Waltz.
Good evening again. So as you know, you directed us last month to advertise the tax acquired properties at 55 Monroe Lane and 88 Monroe Lane and accept bids. We advertised them in accordance with the requirements of the town's tax acquired property plans. And we received a number of bids, which I'll talk about in a second. We also got a fair amount of correspondence. As you're, I think, are aware, there's been long-term tenants in both units who, from everything we understand, paid their rent faithfully. We either emails, letters, phone calls from both families said this was a particularly stressful time for them because they were worried about getting displaced in the tough rental market. And we actually got some correspondence from other members of the community saying how much they liked having them, appreciating them as neighbors. So I just wanted to make sure that we put out that the families would like to try to find a way to remain at the property and appreciate living in Topsom and going to the MSAD 75 schools in one case. So as far as what we have outstanding, we've got taxes that are owed, we've got interest, we've got what I've called foregone taxes, which is basically what the properties would have paid during the 2 years that they've been off our tax rolls. And the number I'm going to give you includes through June 30th of 2021. We are responsible for association dues from the date that they became town property. So we're going to have to pay that out of the proceeds. We've had some attorney's fees incurred, and then we've paid publication costs as well. So for 55 Monroe Lane, the total amount that basically we have expended or will have expended once we pay the association dues is $14,904.26. And then 88 Monroe Lane, it's $14,380.70. And for whatever reason, for some reason, the association dues were a little more behind on one than the other. Is the difference. So we advertised it in accordance with our policy, which points out that you have the authority to select any bid you choose, or no bid at all. So you decide that you don't think any are in the best interest of the town. Some of the factors that you may want to use to consider what bid, obviously the one might be the financial compensation to the town. You may decide you want to pick the highest bid because that's going to bring in the most money for the town. On the spreadsheet that we sent you Wednesday, the bids are organized in descending order. Another thing you may want to consider is there a way to try to make sure the tenants can continue to stay there? One way, they've each bid on their own unit. So one way would be to accept their bid. Another way might be to a number of the bids mentioned in their bids that they would be willing to continue to rent to those tenants. So another way might be to accept a bid from someone so that they would continue to do that. One of the bidders that did say they would continue to rent to the tenants was the Topsom Housing Authority, which gave kind of a unique goal we might be able to accomplish through this process is, as you know, our comprehensive plan says we'd like to try to find ways to get more affordable housing in Topsom. So while the Topsom Housing Authority's bid for each unit is not the highest one, they are substantial for both, and they more than cover the town's costs. And in addition, they would be a relatively cheap way to create some affordable housing, because in essence, the cost to us as a town for creating affordable housing is the difference between the highest bid for the unit and the Topsom Housing Authority's bid. The other thing that goes on too is these properties, as we I think discussed, or may have discussed, maybe didn't, but they don't have marketable title until February of 2024, which is the date, 5 years. It's when the statute of limitation expires, and when the former owner could challenge the tax taking, which we believe was done appropriately, and the town attorney believes was done appropriately, but you still got that 5-year timeline out there. So according to the standards of the Bar Association, they don't have the the type of title that would allow someone to sell them for their market value, which according to the assessor in there is like 130 to 150 until that period of time. But if someone comes in and makes a cash bid and buys it, in essence, they're going to kind of have a windfall because they're going to have, in February 2024, the property is going to go from whatever value they paid for it to somewhere probably between 130 and 150. The sale to the housing authority would be a chance to kind of capture that windfall for the town's purposes of creating affordable housing. So that's kind of a long explanation, but that may be something else you want to take into account as you decide which bid you think is most appropriate. So with that, I'll either answer any questions or be quiet and let you do your deliberations.
So it's been, I feel, pretty clearly explained. If anyone's got questions, let's go ahead and ask Mark. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the bids? Mark, so when we see in the notes section of any of these, willing to rent to current tenant, we don't have an idea what that rent would be, whether it be affordable or not, correct? No.
My understanding from at least one of the tenants, I think the other one didn't tell me what they were paying, but was they're paying $1,000 a month plus their utilities. So the people that asked me, do you have any idea what they're paying for rent? That's the answer I gave them. So that's the number they would have contemplated as they wrote that.
Okay. And I just want to clarify, one of them has no flipping, comma, continue to rent, just they plan on holding it. What was the reason for no flipping? I just want to know.
That's what they wrote in their letter. So in their letter with their bid, they said, we're not looking to flip this. What we're looking to do is provide a nice home and continue to rent to someone.
Okay. All right.
I just have one, because it's tough, and I agree we need affordable housing, but just a question, that would be tax exempt, right?
My understanding from talking to the assessor is Topsom Housing Authority has been paying taxes on their other properties. So that I guess they could theoretically apply to ask for it that way, but their practice has been they've been continuing to pay taxes.
Very good, thanks.
So why don't we start this way? I know this is one agenda item, but just let's deal with one property at a time, and then we'll move from there. Do we want to have any theoretical discussion? Not to sound so cold using theoretical, but what are we looking at as individuals? And I'll start if it makes people feel, or if anyone else. My ultimate goal out of this was to keep the tenants in there. I was hoping they could purchase it. There are multiple offers here that will allow them to do that, though the higher they go, the rents may be different. We did get we got a couple notes sent to us from people that love them as neighbors, and I certainly want them here. We have 455 Monroe Lane. We range from a $76,000 bid down to a $10,500 bid. Topsom Housing Authority, and I'm leaning towards the Housing Authority, but what does give me pause in one of them is it is a substantial difference. But I have to balance seeing that bid and keeping those people in their house if a bid comes in at the high level. It's a $36,000 difference. We also have a responsibility to all of Topsom to use their money, but long term we probably will use their money better doing the Housing Authority. So those are the things I'm weighing. Those are the things I'm just which way to go. On the other property, 88, the Housing Authority bids right. It's close enough that I don't even hesitate. So that's what's weighing in my head. I'd love to hear from the other 5 members if I could. Go ahead, Ruth.
The first, the one we discussed first about being a lower bid. First of all, if we recoup our costs, Topsom has never been in the business of making money on real estate, especially at the expense of these tenants. They've been very good tenants. People really care about them. They've been good citizens to the town of Topsom. That all has a value to me. And I think John has done a great job with Topsom Housing Authority. And we do need housing in Topsom. I would like to see those people stay. And I think from between the two, we'll more than recover what's owed. So I tell you right now, that will be my vote.
You don't have to tell me if I just look at what people are weighing,
Yeah.
just so I can weigh it with,
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead,
It's
Roland.
a surprise to me.
Go ahead, Roland.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in agreement with both of you. I personally believe that the housing authority bids are fair and they help us achieve the objectives of, continually emphasizing, the availability of affordable housing for those who need it. So I think this is the right move, in my opinion.
Anyone else want to chime?
I'm not going against the comp plan. I think this makes total sense to me.
Marie, do you have anything?
It being the amounts are so different, it makes it really hard to go with the lower number, that low of a number. But from listening to the other ones where the housing authority being the better choice, I'll go along with them.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's, I want to do both things, but I want to treat. It would have been so much easier, so closer. But so that's where I was weighing, and I hear what, and I don't disagree with anything anybody said. I just wanted to know how we're reaching. Go ahead, Ruth.
Just one more question. I believe I heard it right. I just want it stated again, that with the Topsom Housing Authority purchasing both, we more than recoup our costs. So there's no question to me that it's the right thing to do.
Okay. Yeah, so the combined was like almost 29,000, and this would be 80,000. We would more than recoup. So I think I have a feeling of the board, and I have wording here, so I will insert a couple things here before I make motions. Bear with me, folks. All right. So, although one agenda item 20-75, we'll break it into a couple subsections here, if that's all right with everyone, because it is two properties. Under 55 Monroe Lane, I will make a motion that we authorize the treasurer to convey the tax acquired property located at 55 Monroe Lane, parcel R05A-002-55 to the Topsom Housing Authority in the amount of $40,000. Is there a second? So there is a second for that. Does anyone believe we should do just one vote here because it's one agenda item, or do we should vote on this one, I would think. Do it one overall. Okay. All right, so the other part of that motion will be for 88 Monroe Lane. Move to authorize the treasurer to convey the tax acquired property located at 55 Monroe Lane, parcel R05A-002-88 to the Topsom Housing Authority in the amount of $40,000. Is that accurate?
Chair, can I correct with typo and something I gave you?
Uh-oh, go ahead.
Your second motion, because I cut and pasted, should have been the property located at 88 Monroe Lane.
Oh, I didn't even, yep.
Sorry about that.
I think that's what I meant to say anyway. So that motion does say 88 Monroe, not the 55 I read.
Right.
So those are the two motions for 55 and 88 Monroe, each unit to Topsom Housing Authority and each unit with a purchase bid price of $40,000. Roland, you seconded, did I hear that?
Yes.
Someone, okay, so we have a motion and a second. Patty, would you take the roll on this, please?
I will. David Douglas, are you in favor or opposed?
I'm in favor.
Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Ruth Lyons.
In favor.
Matt Nixon.
Favor,
Did you say in favor?
favor.
Thank you. Roland Tufts.
In favor.
That is unanimously in favor.
Excellent, thank you, Patty. All right, we are on to 20-76, consideration any appropriate action on the appointments to the Energy Committee. As we all recall, 2 weeks ago, we interviewed 3 individuals. Tonight, we completed those interviews with 4 individuals, and all 7 were extremely qualified. Currently, in our motion, when we formulated the committee several weeks ago, maybe a month and a half, whatever, we grabbed a number out of the air of 5. And there's been talk amongst us why that it is just a number out of the air. We have 7 extremely qualified individuals. For this point, would we make it just 7 and move from there? We have that ability. We can state it in the motion tonight. Somehow word it that way, and we can take it to 7. Any discussion?
I completely agree. I think, we can basically move the slate because, as you said, each one of them was very qualified, and I think they all bring a different perspective, which I think would be very helpful with this particular committee.
Yeah, that was certainly something I was impressed with, 7 different thought processes. Anyone else? Nope. All right, so I will make the motion that, all right, let me think of this. My motion is to appoint John Watley, Yvette Meunier, Victor Langella, Jennifer Curtis, John Barry, Nancy Chandler, Alice Elliott to the Energy Committee, and we increase the members of that committee to 7 with this motion. Do I have a, we got a second? Patty, you're on.
Right, you're keeping me busy here. David Douglas.
I am in favor.
Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Ruth Lyons.
Ruth,
Ruth Lyons.
Favor. In favor.
Matt Nixon.
Favor.
And Roland Tufts.
In favor.
Again, totally unanimously in favor.
Patty, just for a second here, I just got a note. I think I read it. I said John Watley's name correct first?
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Yep. All right. So we're good there. We got them all. That takes us into looking to go to executive session. And Patty, I'd be remiss if earlier tonight I made comments if I didn't comment how much I appreciate the work you put in for the board and all the efforts that you give for us. And I really enjoy working with you. So thank you. I wanted to make sure I mentioned you.
Thank you. I love this job.
Me too, Patty. We love you.
I will make a motion that we enter into executive session for 3 items, 20-77, which is 36 MRSA subsection Title 1 4056F to discuss tax acquired properties. 20-78, same thing, pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection Title 1 4056F to discuss tax acquired properties. And in addition, to enter executive session under our addition tonight, 20-79, pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056A to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
Moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor? That's unanimous. We will log out of this meeting and we will log in.